Whew. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bien. Bienvenido, Veracruz. Sending signals in high center interference. You have to recognize communications. Changing the atmospheres is extremely powerful location. So there's a lot of echo in here, right? So obviously my birthday is February 25th, which is a Saturday. So, taking this advantage, I thought you know, take a look at the beach again. I love going to the beach. It's the best place to be. It has a memory. It doesn't have a memory. You know what I mean? You really start to recognize these things. So the course line setting is all about understanding how to recognize what's going on with you. Okay. The platitude division location is really get into your voicing grid settings. But because I'm the ocean, Gulf of Mexico, you guys have to breathe. Okay. Because you're talking about the ocean here. And we're connected in so many ways and forms through a solar generation light setting. You have to really focus on your water containment lines, your echo chambers locations. So there's a bit of an echo in here, but get used to it, right? So I'll be coming back on next Tuesday. Anybody wants a 101, just let me know. Just go to my website and book it. Okay. March 6th, I have a Monday and then Tuesday on. Okay. March 7th and on. Okay. So, all right. So let's get started. Just wait for everybody to come in. I know I'm starting a little bit late because I got up in the morning and, said to myself, yeah, my birthday's coming up. So we have a test that is based on your 24 settings into, we go through V-line setting. Okay, V-line setting, high center interference into volume calculations, line setting to velocity, to position locations, into acceleration line settings, into delta wave setting location. All right. The delta calculation streamline is all about understanding how to set position locations into point settings. You got 1, 2, 3, and position of 4 set locations of point settings. Okay. Now you have to recognize the 24 line. 24 to position locations is what? What is the highest formation lines into locations? 36, right? 24 to 36. 36 lines its system up here in position locations sets line setting to higher level communication. So you have to really recognize the flux capacitor set lines in 3-point settings. Sets communication, right? So when it's setting communications, you have to really understand how to platitude its line setting interference and position locations to 46, 56. Now, the reason why I'm going up to 10 line setting in 10 locations, that's 30 triangles in 3 sets. Okay, 10, 10, 10. So you take the 10, you take the 10, you take the 10. That's 30 line settings. 30 equals line settings. Okay. Recognizing communication and program settings, but I want you guys to understand how to go position location of 24 to set location of 36 line settings. Okay. So you get that position line condition levels. You set location of 6 sets position locations of levels. Tracks interference of 2, position line direction. That's all levels of security. Setting security sets locations and set location settings. Now the 2 line center sets line in rotation. So you take the 36 and set locations to its 10 line setting. 10 equals location of 36. And 10 locations of 36. And 10 locations of 36. So what I'm doing is I'm adding the 310 settings, right, to 30 line settings. I know it's complicated, right? But the complication is all about understanding how to travel through communication and rotation. My voice has changed because I'm the ocean. The atmospheres and the echo chambers, the water containment system, when you come into your grounds of your position locations, which is your settings. So you have to really recognize the water and its containment, because the Gulf of Mexico is, it's unreal. My eye receptors, my eye perception, the way I see things, it's just, whoa, let's go, whoa. It's the deeper core. So it's when I'm looking at the Gulf of Mexico locations, I'm looking at the grounds. Okay, the actual bottom of the water. Okay, so it takes time to adjust. You guys will catch on too when you open up your tracker settings to higher level settings. So I want you to really recognize how to set signals to higher position locations. But in that position locations, you go from 24 to 36. So hopefully you guys are coming into your muscle memories. So we're going to go from 24 to 36 in position locations to all levels. And then we're going to go up to 10 line settings. Okay. So it's going to get a lot more easier because you understand how to go from 1 to 10 and 10 to 1, right? So this clocking setting is 24 line settings interference. So your bracket's 24, and you come into 36 lines, into 46, into 56, into 66. Okay. So once you guys are finished the test line setting, what we're going to do is we're going to line strip each set location. Okay. 40, 56, and 66 in 3 line settings. Okay. So it's going to get much easier, right? But muscle memory is everything when you come into your tracker locations. So you split it in set lines of communication to one panel. Okay. Now, when you open those panel calculation streamlines, you come into higher communications of graph lines in position, location, and direction. That travels its line setting. So you take the 30 line signals in set line interference and set locations to another 30 setting, equal location of 60, equal locations of 90, okay, in set locations. All right. Now, again, you basically have to set lines of communications in 3 line waves. Okay. So it's important you understand that your tracker system is there to work for you in all ways and forms when you get in that position. So when you're doing 24 equal locations of 36, try to recognize the number of what it is. 36 equals to GOD. Okay, in all ways and forms. Your brackets interference, GOD is everything equals locations of 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 on position locations on multiple levels. Okay? So every number recognizes its system, and that's why you got to split the line setting into flux capacitor position. So 3 line position locations. Now, this gets interesting. I'm going to turn position of 3 in locations to a set line of a butterfly. See? Butterfly, which is no longer 3. So this is how it's done. Backwards 3, forward 3, set location, right? Center calculation setting. Now the center calculation is GOD. This is where you mutate the location settings, okay? So you bring together and you got butterfly, okay, in position locations to half pipe of 6. Now the 6 is position line directions to all levels of 6 equal locations of butterfly. Okay, 6 equals butterfly. So it comes in position locations to all levels of butterfly effect / effect. Okay. So it's a lot of fun when you get in locations, because the thing is, you guys have your 7 lines, right? Your 7s are open, but you have to recognize communications all levels of higher levels of travel locations, right? So that comes in position locations all levels. When it comes into 5 setting, right? 5 centers its position locations of 5 equals location of 7. Okay. So that comes in position locations all levels. 5 over here, 5 equals location of 12. 12 comes into here. 12 comes into here and sets locations to 24 setting. Okay, 12, 12, 12. Triangulation of 3 sets. Okay, it's going to get more complicated. So it's all about understanding how you can travel through 12 line setting. You got a 12 interference. I'm showing you what you can do with the open secret locations of your tracker locations. 12 equals 12 into 24. 24 equals locations of 48. 48 equals location of 72, and 72 is 144. Your position location is its crystal grid that recognizes its position locations all levels and 2 line settings in 4-line rotations into 6 position locations, equal locations to its moon setting. Okay? Now it's extremely complicated, right? But it's more fun when you start recognizing these things and you're saying, well, General, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't add up. Well, of course it doesn't add up. It's not math, it's maps. So it doesn't matter if it's a 6 equals 12, 12 equals 1, 1 equals 10. It doesn't matter because the equal line center is all position location to its higher line positions to its UFO setting to its ground setting rotation. That's all it is. So it's the position location to the Merkaba, equal locations to the UFO set location, setting line signals. Okay? So it doesn't matter if it's 6 or 12. It doesn't have to add because it's not math, it's maps of equation. Okay? Maps equals equation. All right? You have a lot more fun when you recognize the number sequence location of patterns. Now, because you have your 7, you guys are going to be open through 8. Okay, that's 8. That is your infinity. Setting calculations here, setting calculations here in 3-line positions. Okay, those are your 8s. Now, it's in position of the center calculations, the 3-dot settings. Okay, so the actual Orion's belt is 3 zeros. Setting calculations streamlines into flux capacitor, right? Setting the lining and interference line position location direct locations into 9 central communication settings. Okay. Center calculation and interference locations into the power generation light setting in position of 5 center locations. Setting high interference location into ground lines into a tripod set. Okay. Ground line shift position locations in the 4-line setting rotation. Now, see the intelligence? See the antennas? So, the bracket center line rotation, the 3 zeros is a representation of teleportation. It's the infusion line setting, okay, to Vega set location. So once you understand how to bracket 3 line zeros, then you understand its positions to its area call set. Okay, the area code sets line in rotation and interference into position locations to all levels, call equals line centers to ground levels, and center calculations of a new circle rotation setting. Okay, open up higher levels into your scrambler and set location. Higher position of travel lines and higher calculation streamlines in rotation setting and 3 central communications of box line setting. Okay, so that's what everything is. The letters, numbers, and shapes is all symbols of you. It's all representations of you. It's all personalities of communications of you. It follows you in so many ways and forms. So you are the leader equals to all gods of representation. Okay? All levels. All levels. Okay? So we have to really recognize these things because the importance is, do you understand what's happening with you when you're starting to travel more? And when you understand to travel more, you understand the position to its umbrella. You understand the position location to its ether. You understand position locations to all levels to high setting. You understand communications to all communication, into line setting locations, into division locations of high setting connections. Let's change position line interference. Okay. Setting calculations, setting calculations, setting calculations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 central lines of communication, which is equal line center locations to your rainbow. Okay. Setting calculation as center lines in position to the ground lines of rotation and interference. Okay. Center calculations into 2 lines sets position location into 2 pyramids and 1 into the center line. Okay. Area. Okay. In position location of 51, 52, and 55 sets in set location. Okay. So You have to really recognize the set lines. So everything I'm doing is all central line communication of 8. 8 brackets, it's line communications, right? 8 channels is operation signals. You don't have to put 8 zeros. You just center position of 0.8, okay? Equal line conditions to 4, right? So 4 is a representative location. 8 equals 4. 4 in position of 6. 6 equals ground levels equals locations to UFO setting. Okay? So you have to really recognize these things, guys, especially when you open up more levels, because the central communication is just this. You can't do anything with your 7 until you understand 8. Okay? 8's at the top. So the actual position locations of your chakra settings are doing this. They're going back down, they're going back up, they're going back down. That's all they're doing. They can't go up. So when I open up your infinity cycle line settings of bracket locations into 2 sets, okay, because you got infinity, okay, infinity 8 equals line condition of rotation, right? Now when it's rotating, it sets lines. So what's going to happen is really interesting, because after your test, this is what's going to happen to your chakra locations. You have to really recognize these things. It's important too, because this is going to volume you, especially when you go into any place. You take a trip, you got to balance out the atmospheres. When you have an air conditioner that comes in you, in set locations, you turn it on. Now, if somebody else comes in, it's a different heat signature. So they got to recognize the number sequence. Right? Until they get the balance of who that is. And when they get the ground line setting, they got a security position location line setting. They know it's a temperature reading that's not 98% location. Right? It could be 103. Right? It could be 106%. Okay? So these are 3 tactic setting locations into all levels of intelligence. Right? So you have to recognize the temperature reading settings. The reason why I'm telling you this is because your infinity is going to be like this. It's going to fly up the charts. So all your chakras are going to go out. The lid is now open. Okay? Now, when you open the lid, what do you think is going to happen with the number sequence locations? 0 line setting, 1 line setting, 2 line setting, 3, 4, all in different line communications. 6 and 7, there they are. They're not in order, are they? So they're having fun with each other. So really get in position locations to its alignment. Get back in a 0 line setting. Get back into 1 line setting. Get back in a 2 line setting. Get back in a 3 line setting. Get back in a 4 line setting. Get back in a 5 line setting. Get back in a 6 line setting. And get back in 7 line setting. That's what you got to do. All right. The rotation spin cycle is both ways. So it goes like this. Okay. It doesn't go like this. It goes like this. And your DNA goes like this. So you have to understand the process and how it works. So when they're like scattered all over the place and you open up your infinity line setting, okay, you can't go past the Orion's belt yet, because the signature pattern doesn't recognize the number sequence location of code settings to your Stargate locations. So you have an 8 line setting, 8 locations of 3 zeros. 3 zeros becomes all position location to all settings to Orion's belt in calculation. Okay. So it represents position of past, the reference, and position location of presence, and position location of its future setting. Okay. So you really, really have to be cautious in what you're doing with your infinity 8 cycle. Because you got infinity 8 this way, 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 you got infinity 8 this way. You got to find the balance of positions. 8 position locations, 8 position locations, 8 position locations, 8 position locations. Got to be in a rotation. Has to be in a rotation. So once you understand that, it's kind of like putting back something. Let's start with this location, right? All right, so this, I'll show you a better way so you understand what your chakras are trying to do. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. There's 7 chakras there, right? Now, the position location is this line connection, right? So this is where they go here, 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 and here. Okay. That's what they do. So once you understand that, then you understand the process of its DNA, what the DNA is doing. The panels of the communication is your runway. Okay. So recognizing these things is this ground setting rotation. Okay. It's amazing how it's created, right? So once you get a better understanding how this works with your set locations, you understand the chakras. So when you understand the chakras, you understand the 3 zeros. Okay. And then you bracket center interference and it becomes its area code. Area code set. Area code, right? Setting communications to all levels. Track line settings and set locations into 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So that's 4, 4, 4, 4. 4 line settings, 4 rotations, 4 calculations, and 4 location settings. Okay? So you have to really recognize the area codes. Okay? Because the brackets are extremely important to your positions of your infinity, because you're working with numbers now when you're going to higher levels of space and set location. I just want you guys to really, really pay attention to this. Okay, you start with 3 lines, right? So this is 3 line communications of 8. That's 8. 8 position locations of 2 line setting locations, equal locations is 10. Right? Now, setting communication line interference is to understand what is going on location of 3 and what is going on position of 10. 10 is the communications to your family, setting locations to all levels of a galactic setting to all interdimensional setting. Okay? Now, once you understand the 0 line settings and set locations, 0 gravity, equal locations. Right? Now, the 0 crosses its line center to position location to all levels of its own pi of calculations to its 8 central setting. So the 3 line settings comes into ground line and rotations into its own teleportation of its unit setting. Okay? So you have to really recognize the number sequence location of patterns from 0 locations into 1,000. Okay? So remember, you always have to bracket the zeros. Okay? It's not this. Okay? That doesn't make any sense. So it's truly understanding that you have to bracket these things because it's its area code. Do you understand that? You have a digital number locations. Area code locations is a 7-digit number. Okay? The UFO will not understand the 1,000 line setting. It doesn't make any sense. It's got to be bracket in 3. So it's 1 over pi. Okay? 1 over pi. Once it goes 1 over pi, then you understand the correlation, how it works, all line settings. Okay? So if you get a UFO line rotations, ground setting, rotation interference. Okay? Rotation circles, high setting positions, high levels of travels, set location. Right? So there's a pyramid set locations in the bottom lines where the Grothian set locations coming up in position of direction to all signals of correlation. So as it's coming up, the grounds is moving set lines. Okay? So the Grothians are here, set line, here's the Grothians, and 2 lines, 2 line positions. There's always 4 Grothians in both line settings. Grothians are at the bottom. Measure calculation, streamlines, center calculation across location. So getting in that position locations, the pyramid becomes an expansion line over time setting. Over time setting. Over time setting. Gets bigger and bigger. Okay? So this is how it's all set up. Powerful stuff, isn't it, when you look at something like that? So this is creating this through your 12 DNA. Okay? So you have to really recognize why you have set locations into ground settings. You got 0 line, 0 line, 0 line, 0 line. There's 4 line settings, right? Into triangulation. Setting communication, another UFO comes in line setting, scans positions in all levels of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so as that setup, position location comes into its velocity, equal line setting into 1, equal locations into 0, 0, but you have to bracket 0, 0. Okay, so you really have to understand how this works. When you bracket the zeros, okay, the product line center, the optical line stream sets position location to a UFO and knows exactly how to put the zeros in trap location. Now, when it comes into a trap, it sets line position location at all levels in high line setting. It knows exactly how to set up position location of its hologram structure. So it's important you understand how to set locations of its signals in rotation. Okay, because it's coming from the ground settings, right? So why do you have to bracket these things? Because you're connecting to zero gravity setting. Okay. So you want to screenshot that? Go right ahead. Okay. Really recognize the communication timelines. You got time locks, time equals locks. And the more you understand set locations, time equals locks. Lock centers its line centers in position of flux capacitor in position. Flux capacitor can do this in any way and form. It starts off with this, okay, but then it comes like this, that to this. So you're going into higher level setting, right? So it numbers its shapes, position of probe locations, all levels. So you got a flux capacitor set locations, equal location of God position location of its direction locations to its triangle location to its box position location to UFO, sets locations, scans, and scans. Okay, always has to scan. So the box line setting, okay, equal location is 1. Okay, so setting calculation of 0 line position, okay, is 1 line 0 and set location equal line conditions of 3 0 locations into bracket setting. Okay, so it's important you understand the brackets because it's an area code. You're setting the area code of 3. Okay, so this is 3, which is your area code, right? Connection 1416, right? 647, 893, area code and position line directions, right? Your time zone. Setting calculation streamlines sets position location of direct locations to your crop circles. So the reason why you have to bracket these things, because it's set position to its pi of interline setting in all position locations in all channels of operation to its position. Okay. So it knows exactly which 0 you're using in correlation. Half pipe set line, which is 6 equals locations of the moon. You're recognizing the moon set position location of direction. Okay, so the moon sets line signals into all calculations into another 0 line setting, into another 0 line setting, into another 0 line setting, and position. Okay, so that's what you're doing is you're bracketing and basically you're kind of like compacting them. Okay, you know how you come into a grid and basically they have it in packages, right? You break it down in parallel set lines. So you got 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, right? So it all depends if you're using 3 or 4 or 5 zeros. It doesn't matter. As long as you understand you're using 3 is always a communication setting to its area code. Okay, you have the area code and you have the 7-digit number, which is your number of secret locations to your patterns of its universal line setting, which is position locations to its 8 central communication, which is infinity. Okay. All right, I think we're getting a better understanding here. Over sequence inbound, sonar, foregraph lines and pyramids. Yeah, all right, so it's great to see everybody. Energy's good. You guys getting fluctuation line settings. Your throw patterns are good. Your water line containments are good. Your echo chambers are good. It's great. Geneva. Okay, Ryan, set location to Sam. Gingy, Jill, Janelle. Okay. Oscar, Chips. Hey, Chips. Today's structure is Laura. Yeah, I needed time to refresh because I'm connected to 2 feet away from Gulf of Mexico. All right, so you have to get used to these things, guys, because you're going to be traveling so much over time, and you have to recognize where you are because your chakra systems are going to be offline sync with each other. So it's in a rotation spin cycle. And if you come in a different atmosphere, it doesn't recognize it until you get back into voice grid line setting communication setting into all levels of Gulf of Mexico, set up my voice grid line center into my water container locations, 6/1, 1/6, and set locations of 116 line of 30 calculations into a 7-digit line setting and rotation to position. So my theta line communication. Now it's back in order. Okay. So you have to fluctuate up and you have to fluctuate down. You have to really recognize each chakra is a representation to your GOD settings. Okay. All right. Pre-flight checks. Well, that's good. Heather, calculations, airbender. Hemdall. Okay, let's see here. Max. All right. Okay, how are we doing here through set location of travel settings here? Tina. Let's see here. Just going through confirmation cycles here. Zip Zap Zoom, yeah, I know it's pretty amazing stuff. And the thing is, because I'm here, you're connected to already the ocean. You don't have to be here. You're already here in the mind. So the mind is extremely real to its heart, which is connected to your chakras, which is connected to your brain, which is connected where you are in your timeline sequence locations of your area code settings. Okay. So in position location, the ocean has identification, has an area code, it has a number. It's digitalized, but it has a number, right? So the number is very, very big, obviously, right? You break it down in particle stream sets and you block it in channels. So it's pretty wild when you connect all line settings, guys. It's pretty awesome when you see these things, the wave central locations. Yeah, I know that. I had to get ground signals by that location there, Jips. All right, so when you go through this location, you got to understand how to set lines. You have to get into your measures. You have to get into heat signature patterns into set locations, all right? So let's say you got the waves. The waves are like this. Okay, I'm just going to briefly draw it out location settings, right? So we got this is the coast, okay? And let's just say we got the crevice location of rocks, right? Set location. All right, so Gulf of Mexico, the wave sets. Okay, these are the rocks, right? So rocks secure the line setting. What are the rocks? They are the grounds. Very simple to understand these things. Wave central line settings. Okay, so I'm looking at circuitry pattern sets. It's pretty awesome stuff. So it's got 3 waving line settings, 3 lines in set location of 6, in set locations into position locations into 2 line, in line center location into 12 signals and rotation setting in set locations into Gulf of Mexico. That's what I see. But I only see it in a graph, okay? You see it in a graph of a box. So that's what it is. It's this. You don't see this. You see this. It's too complicated. So what we do is we take one block. It's like a director looks at something in a position location. That's it. That's the shot. That's what I want. Okay? So you break these things down. So it's boom, 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 boom. Okay? That's how you break these things down, line setting, high and line rotations. So each stream sets. It depends on how fast the wave is going. The central calculation is the undertow set. The undertow is way out line rotation. Okay? So it's amazing how you see the central communications coming this way, line setting. So it's coming in position locations to all levels on the northwest set location in 3 settings. Okay? So in position locations, now it's coming position location across the signals in a half pipeline settings in 3 locations. Okay? So I'm looking at it every second per minute per channel per hour. but the per second changed line signals into graph line settings into 0 calculation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? 12 0 set lines. Now each 0 travels its line position to an area code of 3 set locations and center line settings. Right? So in set location, it's going to be position locations of 1 billion track settings in a wave central line setting of a wave circle. So it's amazing how you bracket the inner line positions to 3 0 locations. Now it sets lines of 6 0 locations. Very, very fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You bracket 6 lines. Now when you bracket 6 lines, it comes to another half pipe calculations into a 24 line stream. Now the 24 line stream opens all calculation setting rotations just to all levels of its coast through Gulf of Mexico. Pretty wild, eh? That's how I communicate to its setting, all through digital number settings. Okay? So isn't that amazing how you just look at something in a block setting location channel? This is what you do. Okay? You don't do this. It's too much. It's this. One block at a time. Same when if I go outside line in center line communications, I take a block of sand, right? One sand, okay, is 1 trillion centers in one block line setting. 1 trillion centers and one block line setting of zeros. 1 trillion, one block of sand. One block of sand. So that's how you do it. You basically you break it down and you center the communication into the lace line streams. So if the wave central communication sets lines, its position location of direct lines, it's extremely powerful. It comes into this. Okay? Comes into that. You break it down, 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 break it down. You break it down one block at a time, right? So that's 1 trillion sets in one block setting into 1 grain of sand. Okay? 1 grain of sand, 1 trillion in one block. Now, the central calculation center and aligning rotation interference of 0 line position locations, you bracket the 3 line settings and set locations. Always, always, always. Because the area code changes the set locations. This is where it comes into an atom sequence. So you break that up line center interference and you got position location of 30 million line settings. 30 million line settings just to start off locations per second per channel. You have a 24 line signal in set location, 24, 24, 24 ground setting locations. Everything that looks line setting, 1 grain of sand has a male and a female line aspect of its line setting. Set location to send line interference. But it always, always, always starts with a 24 signal in a block chain of position locations to its calculation settings into its set system to its location. So now, does that blow your mind? That's where you start off. You start off the ground setting location at 24, right? Because it needs 12 and 12. Everything has to be balanced. If I'm looking at a TV set line and position locations, you split it in half. I'm looking at it right now. It's got 2 panels, set locations, into 4 channels of operation. Okay? Now, when I'm looking line setting, it also has a board. Okay? So the TV line sets line interference. It's the location of Sony, obviously. Sony there. Now, when it communicates line setting, this is me in line setting interference. This is how I see the TV location. That's me. Setting location. So general is scanning the set lines of communication. As he's setting this, he goes to the center operation location. Now, when he goes to the center line, he has its flux capacitor set lines. Okay. Now, as it's coming in, a set line interference has a lace line rotation in direct locations into 4 panels of calculations. Right. So in that line interference, it travels its position locations so fast in set lines of lacing line communication, even though it's not on. It's moving. So as it's moving across signal in set locations to higher levels of channel of operation of sonar line position. So as it comes back in set locations, it opens up a higher levels of channel into another box line setting to higher communication of travels in set location. Okay? So it's important to understand looking through a TV or looking through the ocean. Isn't that amazing? Doesn't that just blow your mind? How everything is all digital? So I know this is a lot to take in. I understand that. But I'm just showing you the process. And when you look at things, always, always, always use it in a block setting. Okay? Always start off with that. So when you're looking at something direct view, always do this. Okay? Not this. This is too much communication. You won't understand it. It's like connecting with this, connecting this, and this. So what you got to do is just break it down, break it down, break it down. There's a wall here, wall here, wall here. There's the wall here. And there's a painting here, and there's a lamp there. There's another lamp there. Okay, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 signature lights of ceiling light rotation settings in set location. Right? Baby steps. And that's what you guys are coming into now, because your chakras are open up to your theta. And when you open up your infinity, you're opening up more of exploration locations. That's the importance you have to understand, right? Break these things down, okay? Try to understand the area code to everything through its block setting, okay? Because everything is communicating back with you. It has its own number and it has its own area code. Now, if you understand that, then you understand the transmitting and its receiving location, okay? But that's pretty powerful, eh? When it came to Gulf of Mexico, what it is, it's pretty well. It can channel so quick, so fast. The tide, it's amazing. It's amazing what the waves are doing. I mean, it's just so much communication. And remember, you're not looking, you're becoming. And when you're becoming, you are the ocean. But to recognize these things, you got to break it down in a box. What is the box? E equals MC square. What is the square? Square root. Square root, which is what? Of everything through all levels of area code to your 7-digit number. Hoo-ah. E equals MC square. Square is the representation to all calculations to setting lines, set communications to all levels of GOD set location. Okay? Recognizing these time sequences and time patterns is true to understand how to use code frequency positions. All levels of channel operators streamlines. So now you understand what box means. Right? You have to break these things down. That's the only way you can communicate, just through a box. So that box is trying to understand you through travel location. That's all. And once it understands you, it understands more evolvement of you through calculation streams. Okay? So it's all position location on its direction of what you are doing. What are you doing to position location? Okay, the center calculation of zero line setting into zero line positions into magnetic high wave emission system. Right? Look at how powerful that is. Come into all line position locations to its set system. So there's a lot of things you can do through circle locations and all position line directions. Right? Showing you what you can do through travel is extremely powerful. What you can do after you get into your infinity of the center operation of its mega setting. Okay. Now the omega setting, oh boy. When you open up your infinity 8 setting, equine condition is omega. Okay. Omega. Okay. Omega. So that comes in position location. This line is 0 equals 8 equals 0. Okay? Gets complicated. So you take the 0 line settings of 0, 0, 0, you bracket its interference, becomes its 3. And then position locations, you come in align center locations into all line center, you bracket these line 3, 0 locations. So that's 2 call settings. 2 calls. Call waiting. 2 calls that came in through locations of Jupiter and Neptune equals Jupiter equals Neptune. Hoo-ah! See how powerful it is? You know, you got 2 calls coming in all through infinity. Isn't that amazing? When you come from Jupiter or Neptune or any location of planet settings, it's incredible once you understand how to use the numbers as maps. Your equation and your formula is all set up. You just have to come into your memory settings. All levels of high center location put you in all division location of its track interference. This opens all communications to your center lines of its area code location. Okay? Coming into code weaving. So you understand that, and each one is a block setting. 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 You're breaking it down. And when you're breaking it down, you're breaking it in position locations into 6,000 files. Okay, 6,000 files. Again, you have to break down the barcode setting, right? So it's 6 and 3 0 sets. So this position location is set 3 there, right? That puts it on file, right? So try to understand the correlation to set lines and set location to division location. Now this gets more complicated when you look at a wall center line. A wall center line looks like this. It's moving very, very fast in set locations. So the first thing you got to look at is the center calculation and what it's doing and why is it doing it so fast in position locations. This is how a wall is set up. It's pretty amazing. So it's incredible when you understand how to block settings. You block the settings, you set it to 3 locations each time, right? Bracket location of 3, 3 sets locations, right? So that's 3 equals line center location of 6. Now the 6 opens up a higher center location to its moon setting, to a location. All right? So the moon comes in position locations into down lines in that line connections of a half pipe in a 6 line communication of box setting. See the half communication setting? Your half pipe sets line position of a 6. 6 becomes 9, 9 becomes 11, and 11 becomes 13, which is the correlations to, you know, the higher self, center calculations. Okay? All through map sequence location. Right? So it gets more complicated. And this is just communications of a wall. So I'm looking at the wall, but I am the wall. So I'm communicating back at the wall because I am the wall. So I'm communicating with its own intelligence, has its own communication, has its own size graph interference, has its own schematics. So I'm connecting to my own self, which is the wall. So I'm communicating with the wall, which is different intelligence. So I'm a wall because I know what it is through source of recognition. So as a community communicating with the wall, we're communicating through each other. Hoo-ah. So the wall is connecting to the line signal location to its track locations into my 12 DNA, all through map sequence location, right? Everything that you see around here is nothing but transmitting and receiving information. That's all it is. Okay? Everything is information. Now, once you understand how to use the size graph interference or anything position location of schematics, then you understand the set locations because everything has its chakras. It has to. It has to have its own map. It has to have its own time. It has to have its own space. It has to have its own productive line setting location, its own correlation setting to its own geometric location of patterns. Okay? So it's very powerful when you come into this line setting all through a wall. Right? So this is how you travel through the other side. Okay? So, in position line directions, there is no wall. Yeah, in position location, there is a wall. There has to be a wall. But you understand there is no wall. You have to go beyond everything of source of what it is, because the wall is not even there. The wall is not there. But it's not an illusion. It's your reality that you're living in. So the correlation line center, let's start off position locations. We start with this, right? Okay. So we start with this location. Okay, so the car is here. There's the car. And the car is going around and round and round and round. What happens when the car goes around? It disappears. So when it disappears, everything disappears, right? Everything is wiped out. Everything is wiped out. Everything has to be wiped out. See, everything just erases, but it's still there. And it's going faster and faster and faster to its correlation setting. So it sets its location in its high setting interference. It's gone, but it's still there, right? So the faster it goes, the more it recognizes its source. And once it understands its source, it becomes position location install line setting. And this is where you come into balance calculation streamlines in correlation into high setting rotation in set locations to product line center interference of 1 plus 1, okay, equals 3. Hoo-ah. The balance of the male, balance of the female, balance of you. You become the position location into the flux capacitor. You're the flex. All right? You're the flux capacitor. So, powerful stuff. When you come to that line connections, guys, it's amazing. Recognizing these line settings is truly understand how to put things in position to its directions. Okay? So, you guys have the weekend. Tomorrow we'll get more into review on your chakras from 24 to 36. Okay? But I really want you to understand when you are looking at things, use it through a block. Don't look at everything all at once. It's too confusing because now the hologram is going to expand your mind. And you can only do this to really understand each position location has a central line setting of its own map, of its formula, of its equation. Okay? So it's very powerful when you come into that line connection. All right? This is a tree falls in the woods and no one is there. Does it make a sound? We create what we see by collapsing the field. We can see through anything. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It comes to that point where you disappear, but you're still there and everything is translucent and everything is X-ray. So you actually blend into everything and you actually become the GOD of everything, the correlation to its mechanism of space-time through travel and all position locations into your set systems of pi. Okay? All right. Yeah. All right, guys. So I will see you later. Gonna go to the beach. Adios.